We're brought to you by JCPenney. Guys, at JCPenney, you can find all the great looks, whether you're in the office or on the go. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan, or relax and look good on the weekend with MSX by Michael Strahan, exclusively at JCPenney. You heard right. That stylish clothing line from Sack King, 7-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl champion Michael Strahan. And you know he's always dressed to perfection. So hurry in, get your look today. JCPenney, style and value for all.
Hey, college football fans, Kirk Herbstreit here. Whether you're home gating or tailgating this season, score big on Game Day Eats with Eckridge Smoked Sausage. And now you can enter the 2019 Road to the National Championship sweepstakes. You can join me at the College Football Playoff National Championship in Santa Clara, California for a chance to throw to win $1 million. To enter and learn more, visit EckridgeFootball.com. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Sweepstakes ends 12/20/18. Contest rules online.
All right, hope your Tuesday's off to a good start. Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our phone guest will be joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic, Trey Wingo here with you. Got a lot to get to coming up a little later. Joe Thomas will join us.
Right.
Talk about another epic disaster and an inability to win a game in spectacular fashion for the Cleveland Browns. But I do believe they're better, Mike. I believe they're better.
Their defense is really good. The offense, we'll see if they can get on track a little more consistent. But I do like their defense.
We'll also be joined by one of the surprising rookie stories in the NFL, Phillip Lindsay, the undrafted running back out of the University of Colorado, went to high school in Denver and is now playing for the Denver Broncos. That's got to be pretty cool.
And made an interesting phone call before he first took the field for the Denver Broncos.
And he got an interesting answer
he did.
on the end of that phone call, which is really great. And Paul Finebaum, Paul from the SEC Network and the Paul Finebaum Show, Paul will join us in just a little bit. But before we do that, let's get you caught up on everything that happened with what's trending. And here's what you need to know. Bears defense, good. Khalil Mack, spectacular. Bears offense, still a work in progress. Seahawks, as a team, very much a work in progress.
Yeah, they definitely are. The defense, one of those, it seems like turnovers can come in bunches. And they're not just, sometimes can be more fortunate, but a lot of times that's worked on. We know pass rushers go for the ball. We know defenders work on stripping the ball. They had 2 more turnovers, another touchdown. Prince Amukamara gets a pick 6. That's 2 defensive touchdowns this year, more than anybody. 10 sacks this year in 2 games, more than anybody. So defensively, they are fine. Offensively, they definitely have talent in the new receiving crew. The 2 backs they have, and Cohen and Howard, I really like. Mitch Trubisky now is still coming along and learning in this Matt Nagy offense, his second year, to the point where 29, I believe, of the 35 attempts last night where the ball was in the air under 10 yards. That's where it is now with Mitch. He went downfield a few times, overthrows, couple interceptions, almost had 3 interceptions when he scrambled and threw it in the end zone. Really an ill-advised throw. So Matt Nagy kind of tempered it down in the second half. He averaged 4.4 yards per pass, and it's going to be a work in progress. I like Mitch. Heck of an athlete. Needs to do better throwing the ball down the field because they do have some weapons.
Yeah, they do. But again, Matt Nagy is an offensive guru. He comes from the Andy Reid coaching tree. The first 2 games for the Bears offense, not the total team points, but the Bears offense, 16 and 17 points.
Yeah.
You have to be expecting more than that from the offensive side of the ball if you're going to get the most out of what this Bears season can be, because that defense is unbelievable. And say what you want about why the Raiders decided to do what they did, but here's all you need to know. Khalil Mack has forced more turnovers in 2 games, too, than the entire Raiders team has won. And, oh, by the way, the entire Raiders team has 2 sacks. Khalil has 2 sacks.
And you have to understand, Khalil Mack is more than just him doing it by himself. He opens it up for everybody else. All of a sudden, you got a tight end over there who has to chip before he goes out. Now the tight end is laid into the route. Or there's 2 blockers. The slide goes toward Khalil Mack. That leaves other guys one-on-one in a position to get a good pass rush. So it is a domino effect with what Khalil Mack is doing out there.
Meanwhile, in baseball, congratulations to Brewers outfielder Christian Yelich. When you can do something that's never been done in baseball, considering how long it's been played and the records that have been involved, you do have to tip your cap. He became the first player ever to hit for the cycle against the same team twice in one season, and he's now just the 5th player ever. He did it against the Reds both times. 5th player ever, Mike, to hit for multiple cycles in the same season.
Aaron Hill did it in 2012. Babe Herman did it in 1931. Tip O'Neill, not that Tip O'Neill, did it in 1887. and Long John Riley did it in 1883. We gave you some info on these guys. We'll do it again in the show, but we love doing that, going back to the 1800s, the nicknames of these guys and giving info about these guys. Just absolutely love it. But congrats to Christian and what he is doing, and that Milwaukee team as well, sitting at the top spot in the wild card right now, 2.5 back from the Cubs. As we said, the National League races are fantastic. American League races are over.
Done. Absolutely done. Yeah, and there's some, we'll get into we love old baseball stuff because.
Yeah, we'll get you some info on those guys that you can use later on at your leisure.
Yeah, for whatever possible reason you would
want
to use it. Exactly.
Win a bet.
It's good stuff. And Mike, the Primetime Emmy Awards were last night. Saturday Night Live veterans Michael Che and Colin Jost hosting. There were plenty of moments to remember. Some didn't involve Game of Thrones, who took home 3 Emmys, including Best Drama Series. Peter Dinklage also won.
Yes, he did. Can't wait for 2019.
Can it get here enough?
See, we don't want time to go too fast, but we all want 2019 to get here.
Yes.
To see Game of Thrones. But a surprise show for me. I never thought that I was going to really get into it, but I did. And that's Barry.
Yeah, I love Barry.
It is really, really good. And Bill Hader, he won for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series. But more importantly, Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series for Barry, Henry Winkler.
Yeah.
Henry Winkler, that's his first Emmy.
That's impossible.
For all these years as the Fonz on Happy Days, man. Oh.
Nice. Boy,
you can play the
Allie is grooving in the control room of the Happy Days theme song.
You can play the old man music all you want with this. This is a great show.
This was.
But the Fonz never won an Emmy for any of that. This is his first. He's really good in that. That's a really, really good show.
Now, did Ron Howard have anything to do with Barry? Was he the producer? Because there was a picture of him, which Ron Howard and Henry Winkler at the Emmys last night, and that's the Fonz and Richie Cunningham.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that. I'll be honest.
That was a great picture.
But it was very cool. And last night, one of the winners actually proposed after his acceptance speech.
Okay.
I mean, that was pretty wild. It was Glenn Weiss, winner of the Outstanding Director for a Variety Special Award, the Oscars telecast, proposed to his girlfriend, Jan Svensson, on stage. He was on stage doing the speech, and then when he was thanking people, thanked his girlfriend, but he said, I don't want to call her my girlfriend anymore. I want to call her my wife. And everybody was like, what?
What just happened?
I believe then pulled her up on stage and then proposed to her.
There you go.
How about that? I don't know if I'm a fan of the public proposal, though.
Yeah, I'm not.
You know, I mean, especially if one of the people is obviously the person that's being asked is hedging it all.
Is unaware.
And now you're in this public venue in front of an audience and a TV audience.
There's really
and
no
the
way to
pressure's
say
put
no.
on you. Yeah.
You can't say.
Oh, there is a way to say no, but that would be really bad.
We'll talk about it when we get home.
Yeah.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh!
Cringeworthy.
That's a body blow that's hard to recover
But I believe
from.
that all ended extremely well.
Yeah, all is well there, so congratulations. And again, 2019, again, as an old person, I don't want to speed up time, but 2019, get here.
Give us Game of Thrones.
Okay. Paul Finebaum now joins us from the Paul Finebaum Show on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Paul, thanks for being with us. And again, we're sort of in this never-ending cycle of Urban Meyer wanting to do an interview, does an interview, then he doesn't like the way it goes, so he has to release a statement after the interview. It just seems at some point he needs to stop talking and say, I just need to move on from this here.
Well, I think that time has finally arrived, that he'll be coaching a game this week, assuming you call coaching against Tulane a real game. But it has really been just embarrassing to watch one of the great coaches in modern college football history continue just to fall all over himself. And I don't know what he got out of this latest interview with Tom Rinaldi other than just to appear more awkward. Now, I will say one thing. He did give a news conference yesterday for an hour, so after keeping him under wraps for a long time, he answered questions. Now, he answered them poorly. He parsed words like he was about to appear in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, but at least he did it. And I don't know if anything has changed over the last 3 days other than the people that already thought Urban Meyer was lying and misleading, think that even more, and the fans in Columbus believe in him no matter what he says. So at the end of this long 48 hours, it was a wash.
And I think as we all know, and we've all experienced, now that he's back on the sideline, and this is somewhat a bit getting pushed behind him, it is just going to go to football now to see where Ohio State goes. And we know they're a winning program, and it's going to concentrate on football. That's just kind of what time is going to do. So we'll see where it goes. You mentioned Tulane. I think Nick Bosa is out this game. He got a little nicked up in the last game. But Paul, as far as on the field, man, that LSU Auburn game, did that live up? And we had Ed Orgeron on yesterday, and for that team to be down 21-10 in the third quarter and come back and win it, what do you say about this LSU team going forward?
They are easily the most, forget surprising, how about shocking team in the country for the first 3 weeks. And this is a team that Vegas had winning about 6 games. This is a coach that was number one on everyone's hot seat list, with the scenario being lose to Miami, lose to Auburn, and maybe get fired like Les Miles did 2 years ago. So I mean, you gotta love this guy, and you guys know him and talk to him, and I mean, he's just the all-American dream of somebody who never had a chance to be a head coach on a major school. He got the opportunity, he failed. He was the interim coach at SC. Probably should have gotten the job now that we see what's happened out there, and he's in trouble at LSU, and now he's, again, 3 weeks is only 3 weeks, but no one's done a better job in the SEC this year.
Well, it is only 3 weeks, as this college football talk is brought to you by Dr. Pepper. Get to your local Walmart today and grab some delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville, now playing everywhere college football games are played. It is only 3 weeks, but it's historically been an unbelievable 3 weeks. First time in, 37 years that in your first 3 games you beat 2 top 10 opponents when they were ranked at that time. So, yes, it's 3 games, but it's been a pretty spectacular 3 games so far for LSU and Ed Orgeron. It's been a spectacularly bad first 3 games for Willie Taggart at Florida State. Is there hope, or is this what we're going to see for the Seminoles for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I can't imagine it's going to change much. And I think what happens is he's got to fight off just an almost instant analysis that he's not going to make it, which I think is really not fair. And as someone who swims in the toxic waters of coaching controversies, he has to just somehow get people to believe in him. And it's hard to do, considering that he's changed jobs so frequently and has really not established himself as a successful big-time Power 5 coach. So in watching his team play this year, they look poorly coached. They don't look motivated. They look out of position. They just look like they don't know where they are, which ultimately is a reflection on him. Now Jimbo Fisher out in College Station clocking in at $7 million a year is going, that's not my problem anymore. And now maybe you do understand a little bit more why he bailed out. But that's always the game, guys. Whenever a coach leaves, it's convenient to blame the previous coach. And in this case, I'm sure Jimbo deserves some of the criticism. But this is Willie Taggart's program, and they just look downright awful.
And quickly on the other side, I'm a big Dino Babers fan. I love what he's doing at Syracuse. They're 3-0 right now. UConn this week, and then they have a game against Clemson. So we'll see what goes on there. But let's see if he has that program turned around. Speaking of a game coming up this weekend, we're talking again to Paul Finebaum, SEC Network, the Paul Finebaum Show. Also, his show 3 to 7 on ESPN Radio and the SEC Network. SEC Nation going to be in Tuscaloosa. Alabama against A&M. One of the things we discuss every week, Paul, is Alabama going to lose this week. And somebody give them a game this week. A&M only has 1 loss, and they had a shot to beat number 2 Clemson. And they didn't pull it off, but what a game that was. So now they're going into Tuscaloosa, another protege of Nick Saban in this one, who none of his former assistants have beaten him yet. Do we give A&M a chance in this?
No, I don't. And as impressed as everyone was with what they did against Clemson, that game was at home. That was a unique situation. And, you hate to say, and before the first day of fall, that there's nobody out there that can beat Alabama, but that's what is being said. And I've heard it been said before, and it didn't turn out to be true. So you do have to be careful, but I just don't see this matchup favoring A&M in any way. I mean, Alabama's offense is just in a position now that I don't think I've ever seen an Alabama team play at, and it is because of Tua. It was not only because of him, but he's so effective. He's so lethal in passing the football. They have so many weapons that it would just take an extraordinary set of circumstances to see Alabama lose a game like this. Now, I was in Oxford the other day, and there were people in our business who said, "Hey, watch out! This could be an upset." And after about 10 seconds, it looked like maybe it would be when Ole Miss scored on the first play. But after that, they never. I'm not sure that they clocked more than 5 first downs. So I just think I think Saban has got this team clicking. It's a little hard to tell defensively because even though Ole Miss was a pretty potent offense, they'll be tested this week. But the line's sitting at 24, and I think Vegas is being very generous.
Well, they are being generous. Paul Finebaum was with us again. The first 3 games for Alabama: 51-14, 57-7, and 62-7. No one wants to, as you said, allude to the fact that before we get to the what is it, autumnal equinox, for lack of a better term, that we know how this is going to end up. But where do you see at this point? It's fair. Nick Saban's going to hate that we bring this up. He's going to call it the rat poison and all that garbage. But let's be honest about it. Where is the game that someone's going to give Alabama? Where is that game?
Well, it will be a while. I mean, if you start ranking the games where difficulty lies, you have to. The first time I would be able to come up with one would be at LSU in early November, and I say that because that's a game Saban usually plays very tight. Remember, he coached there, he won a championship there, and if LSU is still rolling, the atmosphere at night will be very difficult. And I've seen Alabama teams struggle there. And then it's all about November. It's LSU. It's a home game against Mississippi State, which is very good, and then a home game against Auburn, which we know, and then it's Georgia, likely in the SEC title game. So if you're an Alabama worrywart, you basically have about 2 months to go on vacation and enjoy the beauty of the fall because you're not going to see any close games. And listen, even in the 3 regular season games, I don't see anyone coming very close. Georgia, I do think is an equal, not an equal match, but certainly a match. And then you get into the playoff. And what I've seen so far, and it's limited, Ohio State looks like the greatest challenger at Alabama right now.
And speaking of Ohio State, speaking of that conference, boy, oh boy, Paul, did they take a hit this past weekend?
Yeah, and Mike, I mean, this has been a continuum for the last couple of weeks. Every week, a Big Ten team has blown a game somewhere, and this week they just seem to blow it everywhere. I think that's problematic for Ohio State. Should they go to Happy Valley in a couple of weeks and drop that game, which is entirely possible. But even then, I think they could probably make it all the way back. Wisconsin losing hurts everyone on the east side because that was going to be the bellwether game. But again, we act like nothing ever happens surprising in college football, and last week pretty much everything happened on what looked like the sleepiest college football weekend of the year. It turned out to be dramatic.
It certainly was, and I ask you this every week, and the prop bet is if you're going to take Alabama, Georgia, and Clemson in the 3, I'll move it up one. Are you taking Alabama right now as the team that's going to walk away with it yet again, based on what we've seen so far?
I should know better than to say yes, because when Alabama is supposed to win, they usually don't. But I will, because you could be a moderately rich man if you go back to 2009 and just pick Alabama to win the national championship every year. By the way, I have done that, and I've got probably a better batting average than anyone else in the country trying to be cute and go with Wisconsin and be out of it by the middle of September.
Paul, let's go out to the West Coast. I mean, already for Chip Kelly. UCLA 0-3, and for some reason, a dad decided to hit send. Oh. The father of their quarterback criticized Chip Kelly on social media, writing that Kelly is a $1 million coach who bears no responsibility for the team's 0-3 start. How surprised are you that Chip Kelly started out this bad?
I'm pretty surprised because, I mean, there were, Oklahoma was not going to be a win, but he's had he should be 2-1. There is a curve, and I think sometimes you go into a program and you maybe try to reset it too much. But I will point. I just got through praising Saban's program. He was 6-6 in the regular season. His first year at Alabama, his team lost to Louisiana Monroe. These things do happen, so you have to decide what to do. Do you want to try to cut corners or build a program? I'd rather see a coach build a program, but the idea of a father criticizing the coach is getting really on my nerves. I realize everyone's got a phone and everyone wants to speak out, but come on. Jalen Hurts' father got his son in hot water a couple of months ago by declaring him the greatest free agent. Now you have this situation out in L.A. And I just, fathers, follow the same lessons that you give to your sons. And quit making fools out of yourself, which I think this guy did.
Completely agree.
Listen,
completely agree.
Take Herm Edwards' advice.
Don't press in.
Yep.
There you go. Very simple.
That's it.
And by the way, big game for Herm this weekend after a
stumble.
stumble.
Talk about that in a sec, yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second. All right, Paul, we appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Pleasure, guys. See you next week.
Guys, let's be real. When you look good, you feel good. At the JCPenney wardrobe sale, you can get 50% off select men's suits, separate sport coats, dress pants, and accessories. Plus, select dress shirts, buy one, get one free. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan. All the right looks to take your style to the next level. Also, save an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon, or extra 15% off with any other method of payment. Hurry in. JCPenney. Style and value for all. Pricing and coupon valid 9/13 and 9/23. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Some exclusions and restrictions apply. See store at jcp.com for coupon and details.
Love scoring amazing hotel deals? Then you've got to use Hotel Tonight. Forget scrolling through never-ending lists of hotels. Hotel Tonight shows you a select list of incredible deals at hotels you actually want to stay at. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can actually book these sweet deals in advance for tonight, tomorrow, and beyond. Want to get those deals? Yeah, you do. Something better just came along. Hotel Tonight.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. You can get in touch with us, the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed at Golic and Wingo, or call in 860-506-5505. So, Mike, I think rightfully so, we're both a little confused, confuddled, perplexed about how that call could be on Clay Matthews Sunday for driving Kirk Cousins into the ground with his body weight, or the scooping,
the scooping and pulling.
Yeah, call when
the rule
it negated what would have been a game-saving interception by Jair Alexander, the rookie out of Louisville. Instead, they got a first down. They tied the game up and eventually went on to a tie in overtime. And we both thought, just like Week 1 when Myles Garrett was flagged for, and that led to a Steelers touchdown, the NFL said it shouldn't have been called in that situation. And you can see that Clay Matthews puts out his arm, and so he doesn't lay his whole body weight on top of Kirk Cousins. And we were both of the opinion that, hey, they're going to go say, no, we messed that one up too. Instead, Mike, they went the complete other way.
Yeah, they did. They're going to use this tape as a tape on how not to break this certain rule that they have. So it is a how not to tackle the quarterback, which blows my mind. And it has nothing to do with the helmet rule. And it has nothing to do with the landing your full body weight on the quarterback. This is Rule 12, Section 2, Article 9 of the NFL Rulebook. States, technique of grabbing the passer from behind the legs, scooping and pulling in an upward motion is considered a foul. That's the rule.
Right.
That's what they read, and that's what they say happened. And they doubled down on it, as Trey has said, by now using this, and they send tape out to teams on how not to do it. And I call bull. Complete bull. If you watch that, you want to sit there and go by the rule. And even Mike McCarthy said, while he understands player safety and then quarterback safety are big, he said there are variables involved. He said, I'm not sure that the variables are all clear right now. And I agree with him, because you read that rule and then you watch this hit. This is a hit. And listen, my wife has been part of the Heads Up program for the NFL, which I think is a great program. This is a hit. I would go out today and teach any 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old
correct
how to hit somebody and how to tackle. Keeping your head out of it, using your shoulder, wrapping up, and driving through a man. That is a picture book a tackle. When I was a kid, it was about putting your face mask in, which we don't do anymore, and that's fine. So now head to the side, shoulder, wrap up, and drive through. You look at this play, and you have to watch it. And that's why I wonder, we're going to have Joe Thomas on in a little bit, and he's the one that tweeted about it. Should we review it? You watch Kirk Cousins throw that ball. Kirk Cousins' motion is going forward. When Kirk Cousins releases the ball, he is actually in the air already.
He's launching himself in the air.
Actually in the air. Clay Matthews, shoulder in the gut, wrap around the waist with the right arm, wrap around the back of the upper leg with the left arm, and keeps his feet moving. A perfect tackle. And then tips to drop the quarterback and then lays his hand out to not land on him. I am stunned. Stunned. The league is doubling down on this. And I'm not going to stop watching football. Let me be clear. I'm not going to lose my mind. The football is still one of the highest rated things on TV. Forget sports. It's a high trade sport. Highest rated things on TV out there. I will continue to watch. I will continue to do everything I can for NFL, college, high school, little league football. I love the sport, and that will never stop. But that doesn't mean I can't disagree with some of the things that go on. And here's where my disagreement goes. There has to be a group of people at the NFL who have decided about this rule and then looked at this play and said it was wrong. And to those people, I say this, and I never like pulling the if you didn't play ball card. I don't like doing that. But if you never played meaningful football and you look at that and say it was wrong, I almost am not mad at you because, quite honestly, you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
Okay? And for those who are part of the NFL in that group and looked at this play and said it was wrong and did play meaningful football, you're the one I have more of a problem with. In all honesty, you should be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed that you put pads on in meaningful football games and looked at that play and said, this is now outlawed in the NFL. That to me is embarrassing. And that's who I look at more than those who didn't and say this was a bad play. Because I said, they don't know, and I'm not going to sit there and fault them for it about these split-second tackles and what that is. I would teach that tackle to an 8-year-old any stinking day of the week.
Yeah, and look, here's the thing. We're going to have Joe Thomas on, and you mentioned it. It should be reviewed. Well, the NFL's saying no.
Yeah, they reviewed it. They
reviewed it, and they said this is exactly what we don't want. And if I can't wrap my head around that. And you're not the only one. It's time for a second opinion, which is brought to you by Cleveland Clinic. Men to avoid a health issue getting worse, mention it to a doctor. Visit clevelandclinic.org/mention it. Here is the leading sacker in the NFL. The Denver Broncos, Von Miller. He appeared on SportsCenter with SVP last night, and he basically said, look, I get it. What I am paid to do, the NFL is trying to make sure people like me don't do.
That's a tough one. But I mean, I understand what they're trying to do. The game is about the quarterback. We get that. You don't want to, get guys hurt. A couple of years ago when, Tom Brady tore his ACL from a low hit to the knee, they totally changed the rule. You can't hit quarterbacks below the knee anymore. Aaron Rodgers gets hurt last year from a guy landing on top of him. They totally changed the rule. So, I totally get it. It's about the quarterback. You want to keep the quarterback safe, but I'm not sure how we're supposed to, take him to the ground either.
That's the thing, right? That's exactly right. Claim again. Sometimes your eyes deceive you with this thing, and we've seen that sometimes in helmet-to-helmet hits in the past, where it happens so fast you think they're leading with their helmet, or they're hitting with their helmet. Instead, it's a shoulder, and you throw the flag, and then you see it on replay. It clearly wasn't. They said it was going to be, and that's the case specifically with this Clay Matthews hit. He didn't throw him to the ground. He was in the air already. He was bringing him down, and his left arm went out to make sure his full body weight didn't fall on Kirk Cousins.
So then that's the part of it. And let me say again, I know a lot of people in the NFL office that I'm friends with, and this doesn't change anything. It's not like I'll never speak. We just disagree vehemently on this. Doesn't mean, again, I hate football now or don't like those people. That's not the truth. We disagree on this. And the one thing I'll say to the NFL is what you're doing, for the most part, is working. Guys are not launching as much. You still get the few guys that are, and rightfully so in a couple of those instances. They're going to get flags and or fined, and we saw the ejections as well. But you're getting guys squaring up more. You're getting guys using their shoulder more. You're getting guys with their heads up and running through tackles. You're getting that. You're getting guys hitting the quarterback with their shoulder. You're getting the head out of the action. You're getting all of that. It's working. But then, as I said, in this instance, you've gone too far. You have taken the tackle that should be used as the absolute litmus test, absolute thing of every level of football, of gang, this is how we want football right now. Shoulder, wrap, drive. That's what you want. Listen, that is what you want.
Don't take our word for it, right? If you're thinking, well, what you guys don't know what you're talking about. How about this? Would you take the word of two guys that used to run the NFL's officiating offices? Would you take their words for it? Dean Blandino and Mike Pereira. They have a little show that they do. Here's what Blandino had to say about the Kendricks call in that game as well as the Clay Matthews. Those are not fouls. We don't like those as fouls. Pereira. What I'm having a problem with now, even though it's a point of emphasis, is they're creating penalties for contact and tackles to me that don't put the quarterback at a risk of injury. Pereira went on to double down. I think we're setting a dangerous precedent. You can't have that as a foul. There's got to be a line drawn closer to a more violent hit. And that's it.
That's exactly
it. So if you don't want to take our word for it, and you think the NFL is... These guys used to work for the NFL. They were in charge of it all, and they're on the same side as we are. All right, coming up, Golic isn't the only one with a message for a league. A group of guys with gold jackets have written a sternly worded letter that we'll have for you after this.
Support for the Golic and Wingo Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying homes for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a whole lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about it. They're calling it the power buying process, and here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. You win either way. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Golic. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data record. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Bologna, a lunch meat, a bologna sandwich. Bologna, nonsensical talk, a bunch of bologna. So there's two definitions.
My bologna has a first name, it's O-S-C-A-R. My bologna has a second name, it's M-A-Y-E-R. Oh, I love to eat it every day, and if you ask me why, I'll say, 'cause Oscar Mayer has a way with B-O-L-O-G-N-A.
Every time.
Love it. Like, need more jingles.
Every time.
Jingles need to come.
Jingles are critical.
Yep.
Everybody in their childhood grew up with jingles.
Had a jingle.
That sticks with them. So, in fact, that may be the next iceberg we'll put in the show's way. What was your favorite childhood jingle?
I definitely have a few right off. We got to say that's a good one.
That is a good one. Very good one. We'll get to this. All right, Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. All phone guests join us on the Chell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike, there is a very interesting story on ESPN.com. Arash Markazi, an ESPN senior writer, has gotten a letter sent to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, Executive Director DeMaurice Smith, and President of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, David Baker, Tuesday, basically saying many high-profile Pro Football Hall of Famers say they will not attend the annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony until Hall of Famers receive health insurance and an annual salary that includes a share of the league revenue. The letter was sent by Eric Dickerson, the chairman of the newly created Hall of Fame board, and signed by members like Marcus Allen, Mel Blount, Derek Brooks, Jim Brown, Earl Campbell, Richard Dent, Carl Eller, Marshall Faulk, Mike Haynes, Ricky Jackson, Ronnie Lott, Joe Namath, John Randall, Jerry Rice, Deion Sanders, Lawrence Taylor, Kurt Warner, and Sarah White, Reggie White's widow. Basically, they're saying, we have built this game, we have sacrificed our bodies, and so what we want is the idea that we're out there and living this great life. It isn't really true. People know us from our highlight reels. They're so honored and they think our life is great. We're mythologized, but on balance, it's not. As a group, we are struggling with severe health and financial problems. To build this game up, we sacrificed our bodies, health insurance, and an annual salary for all Hall of Famers that includes a share of league revenue. There's a lot to get into here. Your initial thoughts?
Well, my initial thought is let's first start with I have an issue with their salaries, and I'll get to that. But the important thing I think is health care, and I do agree with longer health care.
Yeah.
For athletes.
For those that don't understand in the NFL, your health insurance as an NFL player runs out when 5
years
after you've played.
After you've played, and then it runs out. And you know, again, in the latest contract with Roger Goodell that he signed, what's one of the things he got?
He has lifetime health insurance.
And listen, more power to him. That's fine for negotiating that in. I mean, that's great. But, you know, a lot of guys out there putting a lot on the line that it runs out. So if that, and they actually figured out a number to that of what it would cost. They said The letter outlines that the total cost of every Hall of Famer to have health insurance is less than $4 million, which is less than that of a 30-second Super Bowl ad, or about 3 cents for every $100 a league generates in revenue. So let me get to the Hall of Fame part as well. But that for players and health insurance, to me, when you start talking about redoing the deal in 2021, the CBA, that should be, forget these for a moment, the Hall of Famers. This should be something that the players, it's worth fighting for, because that's for everybody. And that's what you're talking about in the CBA. You want to fight for things that are for the majority. And health insurance post-career is a monster thing. And it's gotten better over the years, but it can get even better.
Absolutely.
And lifetime, or at least a longer stretch, would absolutely be one of them. The one I have an issue with is saying you want a salary. Did you find out how many Hall of Famers do we have? The actual number?
It's 300
something. 300 and something Hall of Famers, and they're specifically saying that the Hall of Famers get health insurance for life and an annual salary because of what they give into the game. What I would say to each and every one of those Hall of Famers, unless I'm reading this wrong, is, well, there are 300 and some of you that are greatest to ever play this game. There are more of me than you. And I'm not saying me specifically, give me this.
A guy who played multiple years in the league, also put his body in the line.
Thousands upon thousands of players who played just as long as you Hall of Famers. We weren't as good. I will readily agree with that. We weren't as good. But, my 9 years and 12 surgeries mean something.
Yep.
Okay?
Mark Schlereth's 29 surgeries in 12 years means something.
We're not in the Hall of Fame, and we won't be. And there's a lot of guys like us. So this kind of reminds me when I was playing at the quarterback club. Where all the top quarterbacks got together, had kind of their own club, did their own thing for their own money, which, again, if you want to do, you want to do. But that part of it, I'm not going to lie. And I'd love to get one of these guys on here, and maybe there's more to that.
Sure.
Because I would love to find out. But you're kind of saying, hey, just for us, we want this health insurance and a salary. Forget about the other thousands and thousands of guys that, oh, by the way, we were teammates with.
That blocked
a lot
of
these players.
And did a lot of the things that allowed you to be these
or
superstars.
Played against a lot of these guys. So that one rubs me the wrong way a little bit.
I can understand that.
Not going to lie. The health insurance, that not only needs to be the Hall of Famers, that needs to be negotiated better for former players.
Absolutely 100%. And here's the issue, though, because when these CBAs are done, most of these guys are 23, 24,
right. They're not thinking of that.
They still believe that they're bulletproof, and they'll play for 10, 11 more years.
You're correct.
For the most important thing for the negotiators to get them to see the bigger picture and the long-term window is sometimes the hardest thing in this. But I agree with you 100%. Health insurance should be there for all players much longer than it actually is now. And that's something that is going to have to be negotiated. The salary thing, that's a slippery slope. And we'll get into that, by the way, with a guy who's going to be in the Hall of Fame in 5 years. We'll talk to a future Hall of Famer about that, whose former team is, sadly for him, inventing things that he's seen, new and spectacular ways to lose. But he did bring us beer, so it's all good. Stay with us. It's all ahead.
When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need help getting to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. And when you need to hire fast, accelerate your results with sponsored jobs. New users can try for free at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
We're brought to you by JCPenney. Guys, at JCPenney, you can find all the great looks, whether you're in the office or on the go. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan, or relax and look good on the weekend with MSX by Michael Strahan, exclusively at JCPenney. You heard right. That stylish clothing line from Sack King, 7-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl champion Michael Strahan. And you know he's always dressed to perfection. So hurry in, get your look today. JCPenney, style and value for all.
Hey, college football fans, Kirk Herbstreit here. Whether you're home gating or tailgating this season, score big on Game Day Eats with Eckridge Smoked Sausage. And now you can enter the 2019 Road to the National Championship sweepstakes. You can join me at the College Football Playoff National Championship in Santa Clara, California for a chance to throw to win $1 million. To enter and learn more, visit EckridgeFootball.com. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Sweepstakes ends 12/20/18. Contest rules online.
Joe Thomas joins us on the phone. Joe, how are we in Cleveland this morning? Once again, it was close, but no cigar for the Brownies to end that 19-game winless streak.
Well, I'm licking my wounds this morning, but I'm starting to feel a little bit better because we've got the New York Jets coming to town on Thursday Night Football in Cleveland Browns Stadium. Life is going to be good on Thursday night. I really believe.
What are you seeing? Let's start first with the positive. What are you seeing as the best positives for this team right now?
Well, the big thing that sticks out that anybody watches the game can see is how great that defense is playing. That defense flies all over the field and has been getting turnovers at an unprecedented rate right now. They're also one of the youngest defenses in the league. So if you've got a core group of really young, really talented defenders, I think back to a team like the Seattle Seahawks a few years ago who were able to kind of ride that core group of great young defenders to a Super Bowl and a couple more appearances. And I'm really hoping that the Browns are kind of on that path right now, especially because they got a guy named Baker Mayfield that looks like he could be the guy a few years down the line.
Well, Joe Thomas is with us. Look, let's talk about that. It was a rough performance week one for Tyrod Taylor. Really, really low completion percentage. But he came back and played pretty well outside of that late interception when they had the lead and they're trying to work the clock. He comes back and puts them back in the game with the huge pass to Antonio Callaway. Where are we on Baker Mayfield, maybe sooner rather than later, perhaps taking over under center?
Well, I think that right now the people in Cleveland still have a good resolve to keep Baker on the bench right now. Let him continue to learn. Let him continue to grow by watching. And don't put him out there too soon before he's ready to play. And I think right now they firmly believe that Tyrod is the best man for the job. He gives this team the best chance to win right now. And in addition, the best thing for Baker Mayfield is to sit and watch and not get out there too soon where you have an opportunity to make some mistakes and lose confidence. And I think Pro Football Talk actually wrote a really good article about Patrick Mahomes and how great and valuable it was for him last year to sit and watch and learn under Alex Smith. And I'm really thinking that this situation is analogous in Cleveland right now with Tyrod Taylor and Baker Mayfield.
Joe Thomas joining us, former left tackle of the Cleveland Browns, 10-time Pro Bowler, walks into the Hall of Fame as soon as he's eligible. We'll get to what's going on with some of your future teammates in the Hall of Fame in a little bit. I know you didn't get a chance to completely read the article, but we'll talk about it in a little bit. One more on the Browns. I don't want to get around the league a little bit. Do you think it was the right move for the Cleveland Browns to part ways with Josh Gordon?
I think so. I think there's a point with any player, no matter how cheap and how talented he is. And Josh is as cheap as any receiver in the league, and he's as talented as any receiver in the league. But there becomes a point when you've just run out of chances, and you just need a fresh start for Josh and for the Browns, because this Josh Gordon cloud has kind of been hanging over the organization for so many years, and it's just never clicked here. And I think you just got to realize at some point that it's just not going to work, and you got to make it somebody else's problem.
Yeah, and again, to that point, just how we know the problems he's had, but how talented he is. A few years ago, he was suspended for the first 2 games of the season, and I believe his quarterbacks that year were Brian Hoyer, Jason Campbell, and Brandon Weeden. And he led the league in receiving yards.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when he is on his game. That's how good he can be, and that's why the risk is worth what minimal risk the Patriots had in this, Mike, is worth a very potential high reward going forward for Josh Gordon in New England. Okay, then listen. One more thing. I promise we'll move on around the league. One more thing about Cleveland. That game was just. I don't know how to describe it. I ran over the last 2 minutes, Joe. I didn't play in Cleveland. I hadn't grown up a Cleveland fan. I was riding the roller coaster of emotions, and then to see what happened with Zane Gonzalez. I mean, it just, I got to say, Cleveland fans have to be the most durable fan base in America right now.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of empathy around the league right now for Browns players, the team, and the fans, because they see how passionate the fan base is. They see this team is getting better. Everyone sees that they're in these games, but they just haven't been able to pull it together. And in the way and the fashion that they're losing these games at the end, it's just heartbreaking. And I think the Browns are almost becoming America's lovable losers right now because of the closeness that they're in these games right now towards the end and the lack of success that they've had for the last couple of years. And I think Hard Knocks had a little bit of a part in that because people got to see the personalities and really got to fall in love with a lot of these guys. And now everybody's kind of cheering for them to be able to turn the corner and to lose it on a couple kicks is just a heartbreaker.
10-time Pro Bowler Joe Thomas joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, as he will every week. Joe, you're not too far removed from being in the locker room. Vontae Davis quit on his team, in my opinion, retired at halftime of the Buffalo Bills game. I'm wondering, again, you're not too far removed for this, what your reaction would have been had a player retired and walked out on the team at halftime of a game.
This was the most bizarre story of the week. I just can't even wrap my mind around what happened. And, he wants to frame it that he retired or whatever. But, you basically just quit at halftime. And I'm trying to still figure out if he gave some type of Braveheart speech at halftime and he called the team up and talked about how he was going to retire and he just couldn't do it anymore. Or if he snuck into the locker room a few minutes before halftime, grabbed his stuff, took his shower pill and hit the locker room or hit the parking lot, checked out before the rest of the team got into halftime. And I've got a sneaking suspicion that he snuck out of there before the rest of the team was even in there, and nobody even realized what was going on. Because can you imagine, Golic, if a guy came up to you at halftime and said, "Hey, man, I just can't do it anymore"? Do you think you would have been thinking that he was meaning he's retiring, or do you think he meant that maybe his hamstring hurt and he just didn't feel like playing in the second half?
I would have been so blown away, Joe, to not know what to believe. And, oh, by the way, he didn't tell anybody because all the players after the game said they kind of found out when they went on the field in the second half. So, it sounds like he did kind of sneak in, do the shower pill. For those that don't know, that means,
yes,
you basically don't shower. And you just put your clothes on and you leave. So and then he had this unbelievable statement afterward that if he did on Monday and played the rest of the game, everybody would have said, wow, here's a guy who gave his all and just can't do it anymore. But, man, not at halftime of a game, not in one of the most team aspect sports there is out there to just walk out on your brothers.
Yeah, think about what you put your body through to get to the NFL, not necessarily even what he's done over 10 years in the NFL. He's put his body through hell and back. And to not be able to go through another hour of football, that's just unbelievable to me, to think where his mind was at that halftime, to think that just walking out into the parking lot and leaving the game was the right decision. It's something I can't even comprehend, but maybe he was thinking ahead. Maybe we need to give him credit for how smart he is, because now pulling a Vontae Davis is something that's going to be in the dictionary for years to come.
He's a verb now. There's no question. He Vontae'd, no question. 30 snaps. Really, at the most, he needed 30 more snaps, and he decided to check out. Whatever, we'll move on. Joe Thomas is with us, 10-time Pro Bowler, walking into the Hall of Fame in 5 years. Joe, we've spent a lot of time over the last two mornings talking about some of the flags for hitting the quarterback and the way they're being called. And it's not just us. Two former heads of the NFL officiating, Dean Blandino and Mike Pereira, have gone on and said that the flags against Eric Kendricks of the Minnesota Vikings, which led to a Packers field goal Sunday, and the hit by Clay Matthews on Kirk Cousins, which negated a game-winning interception in the fourth quarter, where he was called for roughing the quarterback, should not be fouls. Those are not the fouls they're trying to get rid of, or the plays they're trying to get rid of in the NFL right now. You are a guy whose lifeblood was protecting your quarterback. What did you think of those hits, and whether or not either one of them should have been flagged?
Well, I made my money protecting the quarterback. So naturally, I'm a little bit biased, and I say I want to protect the quarterback. I think a lot of these rules are good. I think the game overwhelmingly is popular because of the quarterback play, and that's why people are tuning in right now. They want to see Aaron Rodgers go against Tom Brady. So it's important that these guys are in the game and they're not getting beaten to a pulp by these much larger, much stronger men that are running around. Let's be honest. Tom Brady's 218 pounds, and he doesn't have a lot of muscle on his body. He can't protect himself, especially at that quarterback position, the way a big receiver or a big tight end can. So we need to protect him. But with that being said, the way the rule is written right now with this unnecessary roughness on the quarterback is clearly too difficult and too nuanced for NFL referees to be able to call at full game speed. And so the NFL needs to immediately enact something like the college system, where they have a referee either in the booth or in New York that's watching the game that can call down immediately after one of these are called and wave it off if it was something that was not egregious, if it was not to the letter of the law the way it was intended. Because right now we've had several games that have hinged on the outcome of incorrectly called unnecessary roughness on the quarterback, specifically the Clay Matthews hit last weekend. And then a couple weeks ago, Myles Garrett on Ben Roethlisberger. And that's inexcusable in the National Football League.
And I normally have been one, Joe, to not want to add more review to maybe slow down a game more. But given the circumstances out there, I think I would agree with you on this. That being said, let's go to a bigger issue about that. The league did review the Clay Matthews hit. Not only do they stand by that call, they said they are using that tape and sending it out to other teams around the league as ways to not hit the quarterback. So to me, now it becomes a bigger problem when you're saying a guy that uses his shoulder, drives through the stomach of a ball carrier, runs through him, drives through him, and takes him to the ground is now wrong. So that to me now, Joe, is part of a bigger problem that they have looked at that and they still say it was wrong.
I'm stumped. I have absolutely no idea how Clay Matthews was supposed to hit that quarterback without getting a penalty. If he hits him higher and he lifts his head up, right? So he's going in. If instead of hitting him with his shoulder, if he lifts his head up, he's going to hit him in the face or the chin or the neck area, which is a penalty. If he goes lower, he's hitting him below the waist, which is a penalty. So basically, he has hit him perfectly with his head to the side in the target area that the NFL has allowed. He's not lifted. He's not landed his body weight on him. I have no idea and no concept how the NFL could say that was a penalty and that's how you shouldn't hit a quarterback. I would love to have whoever's writing these rules and saying that that's a penalty come out and say what Clay Matthews could have done in that situation to avoid a penalty.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Outside of maybe, getting a nice down feather bed for him, I'm not sure what else Clay Matthews could have done.
They're saying basically you can't lift the quarterback, which is ridiculous because the quarterback, if you watch when he threw the ball, he was actually in the air already.
Yeah.
And Clay just drove through him, and the momentum of the quarterback going forward and Clay going the other way took him in the air. It's a joke. Yeah. And I'm with you. And we're going to try, obviously, to get somebody on from the league and explain that a little better to us because I haven't met one person yet outside of the league that agrees that was a bad hit.
And again, two former heads of NFL officiating think those are not the calls we're trying to make. Joe Thomas with us, 10-time Pro Bowler, who, again, he probably doesn't like to hear this, but is walking into the Hall of Fame in 5 years. So, Joe, there's a story out there now that we find very interesting, and we'd like to get your take on it. ESPN has obtained a letter sent to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, the NFL Players Executive Director DeMaurice Smith, and President of the Pro Football Hall of Fame David Baker, basically signed by many high-profile Hall of Famers, saying, we, the undersigned Pro Football Hall of Famers, were integral to the creation of the modern NFL, which in 2017 generated $14 billion in revenue. But when the league enshrined us as the greatest players ever, they gave us a bust and a ring, and that's it. They're asking for lifetime health insurance as well as a salary for being those players that helped build the league. Look, there's a lot to get into there, and Mike and I have our opinions on this, but what is your take on the Hall of Famers specifically alone asking for lifetime health insurance and a salary?
Yeah, this is really interesting, and the first I heard about it was when I called in and was talking to the producer. And so I really don't know what to make of it right now. I know that former players, specifically some of the older former players, for years have been pushing for more money. They want, a bigger cut of every new CBA, and they've been getting it. But as is human nature, they're going to continue to want even bigger cuts. Additionally, they would like lifetime health insurance. And that's something all players have been pushing for, right? Because of the wear and tear that this game takes on your body, your brain specifically. Lifetime medical would be clearly something that would be enormously beneficial. And I could see there's a really good argument that the NFL owners and the people that are in charge of the NFL would want their former players to be in good health. It's good business, right? I mean, these are sort of the guys that are marketing and doing great things for your brand off the field, even though that they are retired. And so there's an argument for some lifetime medical there. And I guess it's all going to come down to the minutia, and in any negotiation, it's leverage.
Yeah, listen, I completely agree, and hopefully the terms will get better. I guess from my point, Joe, is you're soon going to be in this club. I'm never going to be in this club. There are 318 Hall of Famers, and there are thousands upon thousands of guys who played just as long as the Hall of Famers, went through just what they did. And it seems now, I harken back to my days when there was a quarterback club, when all the quarterbacks kind of did things for themselves. I kind of think to myself, wait a minute, the Hall of Famers are trying to separate themselves from everybody else, the foot soldiers, the me's of the league, and get health insurance for themselves and money for themselves. I'm not going to lie, that part of it does rub me the wrong way.
Yeah, I could definitely see how if you were one of the guys that has been retired, 20, 30 years, and you see all of a sudden your buddies that were your brothers that you kind of figured were in this with you, fighting the owners and trying to get more money in healthcare, all of a sudden have separated themselves and looked at it as, hey, we're going to have a better chance of getting this if we separate ourselves and make this exclusive club, because obviously it always comes down to money. You only have so much money to split up. And so if you make yourself a smaller group, you're more likely to be able to get a little bit of the pie because it's a smaller pie that you're asking for. So obviously this is an interesting tactic, and it does kind of create an us versus them mentality, which can be very dangerous. And there's probably going to be some hard feelings definitely between the guys that are in the Hall of Fame and some of the guys that have been fighting for these same things for many, many years that aren't in the Hall of Fame.
So away from that, in the more general topic of when the next CBA negotiation comes up, if you were able to get in front of these players who, as Trey mentioned, he's right, a lot of them in their early 20s, mid-20s, late 20s think they're going to still play forever.
Correct.
What advice would you give them about fighting for more post-career things as opposed to things going on while they're playing?
Well, it's a delicate balance because everything that you get post-career is something that you're going to give up now. So I think you just got to find whatever is the appropriate balance that balances the money now versus helping everyone as a whole, as a collective, as the union down the line. And, I'm not in that position anymore to make that judgment call because I'm not in the NFL and I'm not in the union anymore. But clearly I think those people are making those balances and they're trying to get more benefits, specifically health benefits, long term, because a lot of times that's what making these older retired players go broke, is because they just physically can't afford these astronomical healthcare costs from the wear and tear that football has taken on their bodies.
Listen, everybody should get lifetime health care, and if that's played in the NFL, I don't know if it's ever going to come to that.
Don't know, at least longer than what it is. I mean, ask
5
for
years,
everything and maybe get
most
more.
of your problems come well after you stop playing 5 years in the league. Joe Thomas, you're with us every week. We love you as a guest.
We don't have.
Yeah, exactly.
It's drinking.
Yes, you brought us food last week, and you showered us with beer this morning. Tell us a little bit about your beer.
So it's the greatest beer that's ever been brewed, going all the way back through German times. It's called 73 Beer, 73 Kolsch. It's Great Lakes Brewing's finest beer that they've ever created. Unfortunately, they only made about 100,000 cases, and we're almost all the way through it. But I was able to save a little bit for my good friends Golic and Wingo because I know their Tuesday ritual right when they get off the air is to shotgun a beer. So what better beer to shotgun than 73 Kolsch?
It's actually a ritual for days that end in Y, but and today happens to be one of them, so that's exactly what's going to happen in about 40 minutes.
Days that end in AY.
There you go.
One of those twos is our parameters when we do that. Joe, you're the best.
I agree.
Thanks, Joe. We appreciate it very much, man.
Yeah, he's
Did we lose him? We lost him.
We lost him.
All right. Yeah, his beer. This is Great Lakes Brewing. This is phenomenal.
The picture on here, the drawing of Joe, pretty solid.
That would be a goal of mine. Yeah. My picture on a can of beer.
Can of beer?
That would be awesome.
That would be a good one.
Not going to lie, the more and more I think about this thing with the Hall of Famers, the more I get a little
sticking in your craw.
Listen, I go back again in 1987 when the players walked out.
The second of the two strikes that decade.
I'm sitting there, as a third year player making I think $90,000 that year, and who crossed the picket line first? The stars of the league, the guys that were making the most money. They're the ones that broke ranks first. And we're going to try and get to some of these guys, hopefully a Derek Brooks or somebody, to explain this a little better of why, if you just read the article, and that's all I'm doing right now, they clearly are separating themselves from people that they played ball with who aren't putting on a gold jacket like they are.
Yeah, exactly.
They are. And unless they can tell me something different about it, unless they say, hey, this is just a start, we're trying to get it for everybody, unless they can give me a reason, I'd really like to talk to one of them about they're just kind of moving everybody else aside.
The line of demarcation and their reasons for that line of demarcation would be very interesting. We'll see if we can get that going.
Guys, let's be real. When you look good, you feel good. At the JCPenney wardrobe sale, you can get 50% off select men's suits, separate sport coats, dress pants, and accessories. Plus, select dress shirts, buy one, get one free. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan. All the right looks to take your style to the next level. Also, save an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon, or extra 15% off with any other method of payment. Hurry in. JCPenney. Style and value for all. Pricing and coupon valid 9/13 and 9/23. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Some exclusions and restrictions apply. See store at jcp.com for coupon and details.
Love scoring amazing hotel deals? Then you've got to use Hotel Tonight. Forget scrolling through never-ending lists of hotels. Hotel Tonight shows you a select list of incredible deals at hotels you actually want to stay at. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can actually book these sweet deals in advance for tonight, tomorrow, and beyond. Want to get those deals? Yeah, you do. Something better just came along. Hotel Tonight.
Well, glad you're with us on Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. And, you know, one of the things that's great about doing the draft, Mike, is you do this deep dive on so many of these players. And certain players, for whatever reason, stick out to you for a lot of reasons. And one of the players that stuck out to me as I was doing my draft research was this running back out of the University of Colorado named Phillip Lindsay. Now, he's not the biggest guy, but he went out there and did nothing but perform at the University of Colorado. He set the Colorado record for all-purpose yards and yards from scrimmage and ranked second in school history in rushing yards and fifth in points scored, yet somehow, some way, he wasn't drafted. Yet somehow, some way, he found his way onto a roster, and somehow, some way, he is doing things that has never been done before by an undrafted free agent in the NFL. So with that in mind, we are delighted to welcome now to Golic and Wingo, Phillip Lindsay, the rookie running back for the Denver Broncos, the undrafted rookie running back for the Denver Broncos. Phillip, thanks for being with us. Before we get into what you've done for the first two games of your career, which no one has ever done as your status in the league, were you surprised that you weren't drafted based on the things you did at Colorado?
First, I want to thank you guys for having me on the show. And, you know, I look back at everything, and everybody wants to be drafted. Everybody feels like they deserve to be drafted. For me, honestly, I guess it wasn't in the cards that God has dealt for me to get drafted. So I'm not going to really dwell on that or even, even think about it right now.
So along with that, so you don't want to think about that, but how about your choices at the end of the draft when you weren't going to be drafted? Were there a multiple number of choices, and as soon as Denver offered, did you take it, or was there a thought process there?
Yeah. So right after the draft, pretty much every single team, tried to call me. And, it was hectic. It was hectic because you only get 15 minutes to decide where you want to go. I'm talking to my agent, and we're trying to decide. And, it kind of came down to me being home and understanding that, I have a great opportunity to do some good things, here in Denver. So I decided to stay home, and, that's what happened.
Well, it certainly did happen, and listen, it's happened great. For people that don't know, not only did you go to Colorado, you grew up in Denver, so now you're playing for the Denver Broncos, and the first two games of your NFL career, you were the first undrafted rookie ever with 100-plus scrimmage yards in each of your first two games. First of all, I'm assuming, were you a Broncos fan growing up?
Yes, I was. I definitely was a Bronco fan growing up. My whole family, are Bronco fans, so it's a surreal moment.
Yeah, and you said, I'm reading this article about you, and it basically says you're not scared of anything. So how ready were you to go out there and prove, hey, not only do I belong, but I can show you I can perform at the highest level?
Yeah, to me, it's football. It's going out there and playing and doing and playing, and I love the game. Whether it's on special teams, whether it's on offense, it's just being out there. It's being out there with the guys and being involved. And it just felt good going out there. And, for me, I don't really get nervous. I go out there and I do my job.
No, you certainly have done your job incredibly well the first two games. But before you even took the field and put on a jersey, you, I guess, wanted to wear the number 30 jersey, which belonged to a pretty popular and pretty impressive guy in Terrell Davis there for the Denver Broncos.
Yes, sir.
Take us through the reasoning and then what you did to get that jersey.
Yeah. So, as you know, when you first get here as an undrafted free agent, there's not a lot of numbers for you to take. So, they kind of give you a number. So after that, I was number 2, and we all know you can't be number 2 in the regular season. So, we kind of get done, and I'm thinking about, what number I want. There's not a lot of numbers left, and number 30 was open. And, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking like, dang, this would be a surreal moment for me to be able to wear this jersey, but I don't want to just put it on and just go about my life. I want to make sure that Terrell Davis is okay with me wearing this number, especially with another running back wearing it. So I told the equipment managers and everybody in the organization if I could talk to Terrell Davis before being able to put this number on, because it's not my number. I'm borrowing it right now. It's Terrell Davis's number.
Yeah, and we had TD on the show, and we asked him about that, and he thought it was the coolest thing in the world that you called him to do it. So I guess if you're going down the road, you said it's not my number, I'm just borrowing it. You kind of had to show out. So what have you made of what you've done the first two games of your career as a Denver Bronco?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not about what I have done. It's about what we have done so far, and it starts up front with the offensive line. They're out there, they're working their butts off. They're grinding out, and they don't get a lot of love. Got Case Keenum that's putting us on the right track, and I'm just out there doing what I'm supposed to do, doing my job. And I think that's what it comes down to, is everybody's doing their part. And as a rookie, I'm learning that. I'm learning that you have to do your part. Don't ask questions, just do what you have to do. When it's time for you to run, pick the holes that are chosen for you and run. And when it's time for you to block, make sure that you pick up your assignment and block. So I'm just, all around, I'm just kind of just doing my part.
Broncos running back Phillip Lindsay joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Also, talk about Phillip. When you get into the league, my first year in the league, I tried to find veterans at my position to learn from them. You're in your running back room. There's you, Royce Freeman, another rookie, and Devontae Booker, who's a third-year guy. You don't have not a lot of veterans in that running back room. So talk about that process of trying to rely on some veterans on that team.
Oh, yeah, exactly. First, I want to start off with the running back group. In the running back room, we're really close, and I think that's because we're all at around the same age. Devontae is our oldest running back, but because we're around the same age, we all understand each other. Our running back coach, Coach Mockins, he does a great job with us and being patient with us because we are young, and I think in some terms that's good because we don't really understand what we're getting ourselves into. We're just out there playing football right now. And on top of that, another young rookie that's with us is David Williams, and he's on the practice squad, but we all stick together. We're all in the room together, and we're young. With the vets, you got people like Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, Case Keenum, and those are, Von Miller, those are the rock to your team. Those are your core players that keep everything rolling, keep everything in line. And for us rookies in general, we have done a great job of just listening and doing our part and understanding that, stay in our lane, do what we're supposed to do and let them lead and we follow. In order for us to be leaders one day, we got to be able to follow.
Well, listen, and you're doing that well, and that's something that you dealt with that in your childhood. You're one of 5 kids, all of them, who went on to have college scholarships based on athletics. Listen, it was a tough household for you guys growing up, right?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely was. It definitely was competitive, and there was never a dull moment.
Yeah, a lot of that.
Say it worked out pretty well.
It worked out pretty well. Yeah, his sisters. Yeah. I mean, you had to stand your own, right, with all your brothers and sisters in that family, right?
Oh, definitely. The sisters were pretty much the men in the house. They were beating us up 24/7. I was the crybaby of the house. I used to try to go to my mother and my father, try to snitch on everybody, tell on everybody, but and they didn't take that too lightly. When they left, when it was time for my sisters to watch us, I was running all around the house.
Man, I bet you paid the price for that one.
Oh yeah, definitely. But we're a close, tight family, and there's not a day that goes by. We talk to each other every single day, and we tell each other everything that's going on. And you know when you get around some people so much that you can feel when something isn't right, even when they're far away. So you always give them that call just to make sure they're okay. And that's how it is. I love my family to death, and I'm a family man. I got one tattoo. It's on my chest, and it's about family first.
There you go.
And that's what I'm all about.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, listen, it's off to a great start, and the Bronco family is very happy to have you on that squad. You guys are off to a 2-0 start. First road game coming up this Sunday in Baltimore against the Ravens. Phillip, hey, keep killing it, man. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you guys for having me. Go Broncos.
You got it, man.
Wow, what an impressive kid he is. And I loved his answer about the rookies staying in our lane. You have to be able to follow before you can lead. I love hearing that. Yeah. I really do.
I remember reading about his family in preparation for the draft. I mean, there was no quarter given in the
Man, I guess
you
got some tough sisters too.
Yes,
wow,
you had to earn it. Hey, Golic and Wingo reminding you we'll be live from Philadelphia this Friday covering the Colts-Eagles matchup, part of ESPN Radio's Fall Football Tour, brought to you by Grainger, the products and services you need when you need them. Grainger's got your back to help keep your facility running. Grainger, for the ones who get it done. Coming up, the NFL has a lot of messages in its inbox this morning, one from Golic and one from the best to ever play the game.
It's time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Zoom gives you flawless video, crystal clear audio, and instant sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit Zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing. Technology powers your business, and technology changes. But chances are you're still using video conferencing that was wow 10 years ago, but feels more like whoa today. Ditch the choppy video and crappy audio and get back to wow with Zoom. It's the easiest, most reliable video collaboration suite, and it costs about a third of what you're probably paying now. Wow, not whoa. Visit Zoom.us to set up a free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
Hear ye, oh yay, oh yay. To quote the great Samuel L. Jackson from the Smash Film Training Day, King Kong ain't have nothing on me.
Wait, Samuel L. Jackson from what movie? He confused Samuel L. Jackson for Denzel Washington.
Yeah, I was about to Training Day was Denzel Washington.
Rolling on.
I did too.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I thought we were going to have to beep him out. Golic and Wingo presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. Nothing makes up for your football obsession like a fresh and beautiful bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, 1-800-Flowers is offering 36 autumn roses for $36. You want to order those 36 autumn roses for $36? Go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click that radio icon, enter the code WINGO.
Golic and Wingo here with you on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. And again, the topic that has really gotten our attention, Mike, is this letter that a bunch of Hall of Famers have sent to Commissioner Roger Goodell, NFL Players Executive Director DeMaurice Smith, and the President of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, David Baker, essentially saying we, the undersigned Hall of Famers, want lifetime health insurance as well as some sort of salary based off the league's revenue, or we're going to stop showing up every summer to the Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremonies in Canton, Ohio.
Again, since we just saw this, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it and understand if there's going to be more to this or not. We're going to try and get one or two of those players on, to discuss this. But just in reading it, if I'm reading it as it's written, it sounds like the Hall of Famers want this. And again, there's 318 Hall of Famers, and I don't know how many thousands.
Yeah, here's the paragraph, so people understand. You're reading it correctly. The letter states, to build this game, we sacrificed our bodies. In many cases, and despite the fact that we were led to believe otherwise, we sacrificed our minds. We believe we deserve more. We write to demand two things: health insurance and annual salary for all Hall of Famers. That includes a share of league revenue. So you're not reading into it. That's specifically what they're saying. They're saying as Hall of Famers, we want this, as opposed to other players. That you, for example, someone like yourself, is not involved in this here.
It's a little stunning. I'm not going to lie. I went through this a little bit with when I was playing the quarterback club. All the top quarterbacks kind of did their own thing. And I saw the greatest in the game basically betray me and all the other foot soldiers of the game in 1987 when we were on strike. And when some of our guys crossed the picket line, it was the biggest names and best players in the sport that crossed the picket line. And now you have these, and I'm really trying to hold off until I hear from one of them, and maybe there's a bigger picture. Maybe they're going to say we're starting with just us and we want to expand it to all former players. I don't know. But to me, it doesn't look very good to say you just want it for Hall of Famers. As I said, 318 Hall of Famers and thousands upon thousands of others who aren't Hall of Famers.
Well, I just want to let you know, I just got a text from a former player of more recent vintage, and let's just say he completely agrees with you, calling it horse bleep as well as other things, that they would make this delineation. So you are not swinging alone here.
I'm really, really surprised at this. Now, do I think health insurance, again, I know it was 5 years for me, And I do think it should be longer. Let's understand, and I'm not going to rip Roger Goodell for getting health insurance for life in his new deal. He negotiated that. They gave it to him. That's fine. He's allowed to do that. But you have, players who have done a whole lot on that field, and it goes for 5 years. And the Hall of Famers were talking about just them as Hall of Famers, saying it would cost about $4 million a year for them to have health insurance. And so certainly it would be much more expensive for everybody to have health insurance, but that's fine. The league makes a lot of money. It's just a matter of how you want to divvy it up. So I do agree health insurance should be, I would love it to be for life. If not for life, be it longer than 5 years. Find a better number there. I hope that everybody gets that, not just the Hall of Famers. I'm not really sure I understand the salary.
Yeah.
Salary sounds like, well, wait a minute. You finish your job and you want somebody to keep paying you a salary. It's a pension. I know I have a pension.
Right.
Do you want to do revenue sharing? You want to call it that? Okay, do something.
I guess they're saying because of the optics, look what we do and bring to the league. That's fine.
Whatever.
That can be discussed.
Yeah.
Here's my point to back up what you have said. What did we love about Aaron Rodgers' soundbite after week 1?
Team game, man.
Team game. What are you willing to sacrifice for the man next to you to get the result? What did we hate about Vontae Davis and what he did in Buffalo?
Quitting on his guys.
Quitting on his guys at the halftime. That, to me, is the problem with the way this is worded. If you want to use your clout as Hall of Famers to make change for everybody, man, I am all in. Yeah. That's leadership.
Yeah.
That's leadership by the best of the best. But if you want to say, well, we're here, and the guys that helped me get to this are there, and I'm not so much about that, I have a big problem with that as well.
Need to find out more about that.
We
right
need
now,
more on this.
Pretty disappointed.
And we'll try and get to the bottom of that with more Wednesday. We'll have Kirk Herbstreit, John Fox, and Tom Waddle. See you then.
When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need help getting to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes. Set up screener questions, then zero in on qualified